Welcome back to Do-It-Myself Garage. Well, we can't always have fun playing with our toys. Sometimes we have to work on stuff around the house. Let me show you what I got going on today. All right, so I came home this morning to a sound of when the furnace was running. I could hear a gunk, 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 and I've heard that before when my sump pump failed. So this is a poured foundation. You can see I'm at ground level down here. I'm actually below ground level because it's a walkout. But the basement's all poured. Apparently they don't do this anymore. But the venting is in the floor. So if there's any cracks in the concrete or ground pressure water, it tends to come up into the venting. Now the way they did this is they put the lowest point under the furnace. Let me show you that. Try to show you this here. So I have two furnaces. So I have this furnace here. That's my cold air return. And then the furnace is over there. And that heats the house over there. This furnace over here is kind of the opposite. Cold air comes in, it's a downdraft, and then shoots heat down through that vent, shoots it down through the floor registers out into the house. So as you can see, there's a removable panel right here on the front. We'll get in there and we'll take that off, and I have my sump in there. Let me show you how it's working or not working. Okay, so the sump pump is plugged in back here. You can see there's two cords. So that cord that's closest to the wall, that's actually the switch cord that turns that connection on and off for the sump. And I'm going to show you here in a second. So that pumps out of that lower thing and goes into the drain, because I'm on city sewer here. So that just pumps into the drain. Now I know in some municipalities that has to pump out outside, but here apparently it's always been okay to do this. So let me go ahead and plug this thing in without the switch. This might not run very long as soon as I plug it in, because I emptied it out earlier. But there you go, there's my sump. Normally I have that metal cover kind of hold it in place. So there's one of two things that are wrong here. Either that switch died, or more than likely, the way I have it hooked up, it's not triggering anymore. The way I had it secured to float has come loose, and it's just floating up really, really, really high before it turns on. There we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this cover off of here and see what's going on underneath there. You can kind of see how that works now. The only thing that's not working is that float. I'm just going to go buy, pretty sure I can buy a whole new mechanism for that. And all that does is just turns the outlet on and off. So it's nothing internal to the motor. I know the motor still works. So I'll run up to the hardware store, get a new float for that. I'm not going to try to tear that apart. I can't afford to have the basement flood. So I'll just go buy a new one to put on there, and we should be good to go. Okay, so I bought this Barracuda universal float switch. It's a vertical one, so it slides up and down just like the previous one I had. So here it is. Just took it out of the box. Comes with a clamp and a bracket, which I'm not going to use because I already have a bracket on my pump. And here's the switch. And just like the other one, the pump will plug into this, and this will turn the outlet on and off for the pump. So all you got to do is, let me show you here. So this guy gets inserted into here, and he's magnetic, okay? Or has a little magnetic clip in there. There was this little plastic clip, comes with the pump. He goes in this little hole right here that keeps that from falling out. I don't know if it'll focus here. Yeah, keeps that from falling out. Then there's two screws that would have gone into the mounting bracket, which I'm not going to need. And this little float stop. And that float stop, you put your float on here. Oops. So the float goes on here. Alright, so that little rubber grommet, it fits on this thing way too tight. So I had a couple of couple of wiring grommets. That should work just fine. It didn't come, it only came with one grommet. What I don't like is the way this is set up is it has to travel all the way to the top before it triggers. And that's going to be too deep for my ventilation system. So I like to have it trigger a little closer to the bottom and only have about a 2-inch level where it triggers. So, you know, your system might vary. Having to go all the way to the top for you might be just fine. I prefer mine not to do that. So what I'm going to do, put this grommet on here real quick. Alright, so now there's a little bit of space between the two, which means when it travels up, let's see if I can show this here. I'm trying to do 3 things at once. When this travels up, that's enough to trigger the switch. And then the weight going down will turn it off. Up, trigger, and then this thing will be floating in the water, and then it won't turn off until this goes below the bottom. So that's how you adjust that. These grommets actually fit pretty tight, so these should work. These should work pretty good. Sometimes you got to be inventive. The one that came with it, I could have just taken a drill and drilled it out just a little bit. But if I would have forced it on here, I'm pretty sure I would have broke this rod. It was really, really tight. So there were 2 screws that held it on from the bottom, and 1 screw for the electrical on top. All right, so I got the 2 screws in the bottom. Now I just have to strap the cord down on top. Basically that cord strap is just to make sure someone doesn't try to pick the thing up by the cord and pull it out of here. So that's just anchored down. Now I can set the whole thing back down in there. And, oh yeah, it's hitting the floor here. But that should work really good. I actually might have to shorten that rod up. I think I had to on the last one too. Let me see. Okay, so I did trim that, but I wanted to mention something here as a tip. Most of these pumps, you see how that's open right to the blades? Okay, don't just set this down into a sump hole unless there's absolutely no way any debris or anything can get in there. I had a rock, a pebble, get down in there and clog up my pump. So what I generally do is I put a small plate under it. It gives it something to, the water can still get in there. It doesn't starve it. It's kind of concave, and then it also keeps debris from getting into that pump. She's sitting down in there. She's on a plate, and as you can see, you know, I've got tubes coming out from 3 different sides here that drain the foundation. So I'm going to play with that switch real quick and adjust that. Just reach down in there and slide those rubbers up and down, and then I should be good. Alright, so I triggered it manually, and it shut off by itself once the float got down low enough. So that should be good. Now I can put my cover back on, turn my furnace back on, because obviously with that cover open, I'm not going to get much heat. Alright, she's all patched back up. Got the tape on there. Got tape all around all the joints so I don't have an air leak. And I have a working sump pump now. Yours might be a little different, but the concept is the same. You have a pump and you have a trigger. Sometimes they're built in. This particular one is external, which made it really nice when it failed, that I was able just to bolt a new one right on. Thanks everybody for watching. Please like, share, subscribe if this was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.